Welcome, everybody, to our True Self Talk 2020 first live True Self Talk directly after our True Self transmission. Happy New Year to all of you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for arriving. I want to welcome our co-facilitators. Those are energy coaches that facilitated the session with me here. Cheryl, Cindy, Gloria, Astrid, Denise, and Becky. I hope I didn't forget anyone. Yes, Happy New Year to you guys. Everybody's still logging on. Welcome to 2020. Make sure that you turn off your end of the microphone so we don't have your background noises on the recording. Yeah, so this always takes a few minutes till we fully arrive. Yes, this was quite a serious session here from our end. It looked like there was a touchdown with your true self, came with a super strong sense of emergency, a strong sense of almost like hurrying up, like catching up, or perhaps even falling behind the 8 ball, as somebody called this here. Gloria, I think you said this. You know, like trying to catch the train last minute. Guys, all this is something that you need to let go of in 2020. It's very, very important. There was so much information in this session, and how we can overcome this blockage that we feel within through simply letting go of trying to be somebody or trying to perform in a certain way. Okay, so this is one of the big takeaways from this session. This feeling of emergency where you feel like you're not good enough, you're losing out on things. Becky, your microphone is on. Can you turn this? Thank you. All that leads to you not being able to really feel your true self, to really feel this soul pulsing in you, this light that you all have. And really, the session was really difficult in the beginning. It was a lot of physical sensations. Did you guys feel this too? Let me involve you guys here, and also co-facilitators, please feel free to comment at any time. Did you guys feel a lot of physical sensations? And if so, what did you feel? You can either text or you can speak directly into the microphone. We felt a lot of physical stuff in the beginning, especially neck tension, pain in the shoulder blades. This moved around throughout the session a bit. There was lower back pain, and then it moved back up more to the middle section. Strong sensations in hands, arms, strong left and right sensations. So like everything you felt it on the left, or you felt it on the right. Most of you probably on the left. Yes, neck pain. I'm looking at your guys' texts here. Coughing and yawning. Yes, that was a very strong here on our end as well. I'm going to get to what these things mean here in a second. I just want to hear it from you. Pain in back, pain, neck, and left side especially. Yeah, who of you, there's a function here in this webinar software where you can raise your hand. Who of you experienced things primarily on one side of your body? I need to make sure you guys' microphones are turned off, so people are still logging on. Make sure that your mics are turned off. Yeah, you either have my echo on there or your own background. Who have you felt things primarily on the left or on the right of your body? Or sensations that had to do with somehow feeling off balance? Okay, Sri, you felt it mostly in mid-spine. I felt it there as well as the session progressed, but there were some very distinct, yes, so that's like 30% of you guys. Okay, so there was some very distinct sensations, and they flip-flopped sometimes. I didn't prepare slides for this kind of session because it's too spontaneous right after a session, but I did pull up a few infographics here for you to refer to them. So when you look on the screen, you can see this. So most of the sensations that we perceived were here, right between the second and third chakra, all right, that had to do with courage, that had to do with self, with the false self, obviously, because when we start connecting with the true self and we're really asking for it, there's also something like, well, I mean, we have to let go of all these false self aspects of ourselves, the things that we identify with. And for most of us, this also comes in with, you know, the control issues, the holding on to something showing up in our body. Yes, so some of you felt tears as well, that we've had that too quite a bit actually. And then towards the end, it felt refreshing. Yeah, some of you might have gotten knocked out. Who fell asleep? Who got knocked out by the session? Like couldn't keep their eyes open, had to like go really deep and wasn't really able to stay fully conscious. You know this, guys. This does not prevent the energy work from taking place. So don't ever judge yourself if you fall asleep during an energy transmission. These sessions are extremely high vibratory in nature, and most of our bodies, our physical, are not really used to this. So the only times where our body actually goes into this place is when we are asleep, when our etheric recycles all these energies of the day. And oftentimes we are not used to being fully aware. This also has to do with the theta state of our brain, which is why I always give an MP3 with a theta metronome, with a subliminal theta metronome, because it allows your brain to stay awake in those deeper connected states. Yeah, and some of you felt this more towards the second half. Yeah, some of you felt this more in the beginning, so kind of getting knocked out by the session energies a little bit, and some of you felt this later towards the second half and the end, because they the blockages, and I'm going to talk about that here in a second, they were slowly dissolved. So emotionally, the way this felt was in the beginning, and I don't know if you picked up on this as well, there was this really strong feeling of endings, of an ending of some sort. That's why I called the whole session serious. Feeling of loss, feeling of lack, almost like a feeling of death. And that's when we recognized right away that this session is obviously about rebirthing our own awareness, like this waking up process that I've described in the Truth Talk, where we literally become aware of our own light. And sometimes that comes with a memory or triggers a memory of loss or death or fear thereof. Who of you have had anxious feelings in the beginning, or feelings of, well, you know, like panic, maybe even a bit, or things that somehow reminded you of, oh no, like your inner darkness or something? Who of you felt this in the beginning of the session? Yeah, there was some really strong memory triggered. And for some of you, and we're going to get into the what a block is, what an energetic block is, and how that affects our perception and our sense of self, and how this can actually, prevent us from feeling our true self. But I would love to hear from you here. Thank you, by the way, for chatting and for sharing. Unfortunately, with this webinar software, we can't share this for everybody. So we have the open mic, so you can always talk into the microphone. Again, please make sure that you unmute your microphone from your end, so we don't have your background noises on the recording. Yeah, Abigail shares, I felt very grounded, like it was the ground beneath the battleground. I witnessed my anger. Yeah, but it didn't feel like it was attached to me. And you felt this in your first chakra a lot, Abigail. Yeah. This is something that was really needed at the beginning of the session, to go into this grounding place, to not be afraid, to make a stance, to not, let yourselves get distracted or pulled into this stored pain memory of trauma or loss. All right, this is the first hurdle, and often the most difficult one to take when you go into stillness, when you really focus on your being, and when you want to connect with your true self, is this first onset of what feels dark at first. You guys know what I'm talking about? Lavana, I have to mute your microphone, or unless you can find the way you can click this off, because we have your background noises on the recording. Okay. Yes, Nigel, you felt very unsettled in the beginning. And this can do different things for us. This can lead to agitation. This can lead to frustration. All right, so where we start beating ourselves up and start fighting against things, and start, sort of turning in our own minds, or trying to prevent ourselves from feeling this darkness. Yeah, or the panic or the anxiety that can come with when this gets triggered. Yeah. Yeah, so this is the first hurdle of connecting with your true self, to not get pulled into your fear. And then the next one is to not get pulled into the judgment of whatever it is that you're experiencing. So one of the big aspects of this particular session, guys, was to allow yourself to feel, to allow yourself to consciously witness your emotions, your sensations, and even your thoughts, to not run away, to not stop this from expressing, because that is where this stored energy that never finds its expression, where that accumulates, and where it then ends up blocking the energy flow, and with that, of course, your manifestation, and this self-actualization, where you can fully be in awareness and sort of self-love about yourself. This is the biggest key to overcoming this lack of connection, to overcoming the fear, to overcoming the lack of heart connection, is to know that yes, there will always be a little bit of stuff, okay, stuff that builds up throughout a day, throughout your life, okay, that needs to be recycled, that needs to be released, that needs to be let go of. So when this never happens, then it all accumulates in your energy system. And in this session, it was very obvious how we had this really strong block here in between the second and the third chakra, that affects our courage, that affects our flow of life force, that affects this the ability to truly feel ourselves, to truly have a sense for self, all right? And obviously, the false self is the coping way. That's how we cope with that, and control and anger and strong ego mechanisms. And on the other side of that block was really, really strong build up here of these attachments, of these energetic, accumulations in the fifth chakra. And this reaches down to your sternum. So it's very important that you don't get pulled into this linear view of chakras, maybe like our anatomy. That's you can X-ray it, and it's pretty much always right there where it's supposed to be. With chakras, it's different. Those are organs that regulate our energy, and they function in form of fields. All right, so they create a whole entire field around this area, in front, left and right, and in the back. That's why we often look at this balance in you. That's why I mentioned in the beginning that the session started out with a very strong left and right imbalance. So the fifth chakra that was blocked as well, which can be felt through neck pain, atlas pain, that is the base of the skull, shoulders, also reaching into the arms and armpits sometimes, front and back, shoulder blades. That was a very strong sensation here in this session, indicating that there is a split, that there is an imbalance within us, all right, that does not allow the correct flow of energy. And there's a second infographic for this that can help you to localize this for yourself. So you are going to receive a recording, by the way. These are all infographics that come from our Sacred Self-Healing, Self-Teaching course. Here you can see this relates to your right side and your left side, right? That first of all, there's a masculine and feminine component to left and right, often also something that has to do with the past, the present, and the future. So the present, the 0 point of you, is here in your heart, and is supposed to be, no matter whether you're male or female, always centered there. And when you feel your energy a little bit move too far to the right or to the left or front or behind, that means that the attention, the focus of your energy is somewhere else but in your center. And that's why we often talk about the heart center. Yes, and when you feel things mostly on the left or mostly on the right, it tells you that there's something with this part of your energy. So the left side of your body, in 85% of the people, if you are left-handed, this might be reversed. And I've also had, if you believe it or not, 2 clients who've had their heart on the right side of their body. This is actually possible. And for them, it was reversed as well. But when it's linked to the left side, it tells you that there's something with your feminine energies, the connection with the feminine, that isn't fully balanced, okay? And if you are energetically aware, this might feel like your left is sort of caved in or crunched, or feels just like it has more tension. This, by the way, is something I've mentioned this in a different talk before. Something that came to my awareness like right around when I was 30, that all injuries, accidents, all scars that I have on my body, they're all on the right side. And this was is something that I had on a different level already discovered before, but it wasn't until then that I realized that this is about me operating too much on the right side of my energy system, which is the masculine. So, and it's very scarred, it's very injured. It has a lot of, bruises and so forth, and broken bones and so forth on my right, because I've never really I was never able before then to go into this balance with my left and right. So what I did in order to healed this is that I've started to engage in activities that help me to interconnect my left and right hemisphere more. I started playing piano. I did martial arts, a lot of things that had to do with working with the left and right and focusing on feeling this a little more. Yeah, Alex, most of your injuries and things that happen to you are on your left. And for you, and this is cool because you're a male, it means that there is an imbalance here with your left. So that means that you are sometimes too far out on your or relying too far on your feminine energies. And for a guy, nowadays this is a really cool thing because most people in our societies have the opposite problem. But when you as a guy experience this, right, it means it's basically the counterpart to what I said about myself. It means that you are not really in the center of your own source of power, because as a guy your energy should be slightly more focused on the right. And masculine energies, they have to do with direction, they have to do with in life direction, in life purpose. They're goal oriented. I know some of your story, Alex. So some of that you've played this out or lived this in competitions. Okay, that's very masculine. It's a very masculine energy to compete. All right, but then at the same time, if that is the only way for you to connect with your masculine energy, all right, then this needs more balance, because for you to then move forward in your life where you might not be able to physically compete anymore, you need to have that access to your masculine energy regardless. So masculine energy is needed to move forward, guys. It's needed to feel a goal in life and to bring in the necessary energy to put this into action. So a lot of us have that issue that we focus too much on the feminine, especially here in this spiritual realm, and that we sort of get lost in these etheric perceptions and visions and so forth. So it's basically the counterpart to needing to align to softer energies a little more, needing to align to overall what feminine energies stand for the self-love and the nurturing. So when we have an imbalance between the masculine and feminine, it always means that there is some kind of inner confliction going on, some kind of inner duality. And oftentimes this is then in our 3D life expressed through very imbalanced needs. Okay, our needs are not met, that we cannot meet our needs because we are not fully connected with them. And the significance of all of this in conjunction with connecting with our true self, with our soul self, and developing a balanced sense of self. All right, these are all indicators. These are all little bits and pieces of guidance for you coming from your true self. This is very, very important that you understand that your body is part of this guidance system. All right, and oftentimes, when people awaken and when they develop sort of the need and also the willingness to go a little deeper, to work with mindfulness, to meditate and so forth. We do this sort of like going to church on Sundays from 10 to 11. Okay, so the point being here is that for a strong sense of self and the ability to make a good stance for ourselves and have our feminine and masculine energies in balance, we need to make sure that they work together properly, that they work in this unified way, and not that they work against another, or that one side is hyperactive and the other side is undernourished. All right, so that's when we lose the ability to feel our own needs, our own boundaries, and this then often leads to not being able to feel needs altogether. In fact, it can go as far as not even be able to feel our feelings anymore. And you know, when there is trauma present, then this all becomes a very strong sort of somatic and also psychosomatic and energetically somatic response, namely that our whole entire energy system becomes imbalanced. Yeah, so you had tingling in left forearm and left hand. So when you look at the hands here, okay, the hands and the arms, they often stand for the balance in giving and receiving, and the left is receiving. Okay, so a lot of us have issues with actually receiving, and I talked a little bit about this in the Truth Talk here last week. We have to learn how to receive information. Now, receiving in our daily lives can mean that we actually trust other people and let other people in. Okay, so when there's trauma present, we have all these protection mechanisms that prevent this from happening. But when this goes out of balance, well, then we are no longer able to receive anything, and this then isolates us, and this can pull us into depression. And the ego's conclusion to this is then to cut ourselves off from our feelings altogether. But when we cut ourselves off from our feelings, we are not able to communicate with our true self anymore, guys, because feelings have a purpose. And when I say feelings, I'm not talking about emotions only. I'm talking about the whole shebang. Everything from your intuitive feeling to the physical sensations, even the thoughts that are going through your mind, and obviously also your emotions, but all of that, all, you know, that you perceive, you know, as something that comes out of you, okay, that gives you a sense of you. That is what I mean with feelings. And this energy training or energy awareness training and truth training, those are all tools that can help us to become confident with it and to no longer fear this. Yes, you listen to the Connecting with Feminine recording that we have. It's an energy process. Yes, and you have this push from the left, as you know. Yeah. So in order to balance this out, so regardless of where you feel this in your body, but is to consciously focus on bringing your energy more into your center. Okay, so it's almost like if you imagine or visualize yourself sort of standing in a sphere, or you know, in a big balloon or something, okay, as sort of the totality, just really simplified, of your etheric energy. Okay, then try to really focus being in the dead center point of it. You want to feel, you know, this sphere around you in full symmetry, left and right, forward and backward. It's something that you can always look at when you go into meditation. This is the first thing I do, is I locate sort of the alignment of my etheric. Am I leaning forward energetically? Am I more leaning to the left or more leaning to the right? Or sometimes I can feel my energy a little bit behind me. All right, to balance this out, to immediately visualize my energy going back in my center. And I recommend you guys to use the I am breathing for this, because through your breath, which is directly linked to all energies in your body, is very important that you understand this. And also to the breath of the divine, okay? There is something that happens in your energy, and those of you who maybe who've studied Eastern medicine or Eastern teachings, or who do yoga and have learned a little bit about the importance of breath, you know this, that, you know, it is through the breath that you are sort of, I mean, it happens without you doing, but it's the conscious breathing that you consciously sort of inhale the breath of source, the breath of the divine, and this then, you know, nurtures your whole entire body, and obviously translates into oxygen into your blood, and it translates into chi energy, and, you know, your overall life force, obviously. But it's important that we, as the self-masters of ourselves, that we align our energy to the center point of it. Otherwise, our energy becomes out of balance, and then we begin to feel problems, you know, blockages, and we cannot maybe recognize anymore. Here, I pulled up this quote from Einstein, by the way, because I really love this when I talk about balance. Why this is so important for us, also looking forward, since we looked into 2020 a little bit as well. It is so important that we maintain the balance, because this is what keeps us moving. It is also the need to move in order to keep balance. So very often when we stagnate in our energy, when you have the feeling that you are not sort of moving forward fast enough or in the way that you want it, then you know, we fall for this inertia of this blocked space or blocked state that we are in. And all we really need to do in those moments is to remind ourselves to keep moving. We have to get our energy to flow again. All right, so emotion, okay, energy, all that has to do with motion, okay, with moving. Let it move, get the juices flowing, all right, on whichever level you experience, you know, sort of the stagnation. If you feel this on a physical level, then just get up from the couch and move your body. You know, if you feel this emotionally, then go work with your emotions and express them, bring them into motion, okay? Face them, don't cut them off. When you cut them off, you're creating, you know, energetically, that creates more and more sort of molasses, this dark sort of dense emotion in you, the darkness that pulls you into your own downward spiral. Mentally, if you feel that there is too much going on, all right, then you need to, the motion there is to interfere and to work on silencing your mind, okay? So there's a counter motion that has to come. So somehow, whatever the imbalance is, you need to make sure to somehow balance this out. And the big part here in this session that came forward, and I hope that you guys had a little bit of a feeling for this, is the aspect of self-love and self-nurturing, the aspect of really tuning in to wanting to commune, wanting to communicate with your true self, with your soul, to really loving to be with it, to go into relationship with it. And this is the good news here for the session. It really worked through the blockages and allowed us to, you know, all of us on the level of our perception, to feel that it's not flowing right. And now self-love has to come in to overcome this. Okay, so to read this quote, self-love is the resonance for unlocking true inner and outer balance. Without balance, we're just minds or bodies with a fragmented soul, unaware of who we truly are and what we came here for. So you see, working on balance it's to a degree a physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual process, but on an energetic level, it's much more than that. It is really tuning into our feeling and really allowing ourselves to feel ourselves from within. And this then in conjunction with self-actualization, all right, with embodiment, with like bringing this into expression, preferably into the higher expression or highest expression, the promise to our soul self to bring our self into expression. This happens through a fifth chakra. This happens through the ways we act this or enact this here on this 3D level. Now, aspects of that also happen on the etheric level. So this is for those of you who are serious about this kind of training. You know, there's another level to this, right? You can find this self-actualization, this expression also on an etheric level. But for us to be able to do this in a safe way and in a balanced way, we have to first really become aware of this. We have to awaken to our true self and recognize that this is nothing on the outside, that this is an internal process. This is from inside out, guys. And but if we don't allow ourselves to feel all our feelings and to feel our needs and to work with them and to bring them into expression and to say to yourself, I'm having a hard time feeling myself right now, instead of going into fear and isolation and blaming others and, oh, you know, I feel bad because I was with all these people there today, you know, and as a consequence to cut this off, you've externalized that. The more balanced way of dealing with this is to go, okay, I am feeling, you know, kind of bad because I socialized with people today that weren't really good for me. I could feel how that caved in my energy. It's not their fault, all right? This means that there is some kind of need or some kind of either lack of boundary or us not really being aware of what is good for us and what isn't, that was not enacted, where we didn't do it, where we didn't, you know, where we didn't respond to the inner messages that were coming from our true self, you know, the needs that it communicates. And self-love is the key, guys. Okay, this has nothing to do with selfishness. Okay, this whole notion that we, because we are energetically sensitives or whatever, we're empaths or healers or whatever the label is, that those are all false selves, guys. That is all identity stuff. It distances you from your true self. Yes, I can say about myself that I am a healer because I've consciously dedicated my life to doing this. But this, I only see this as my doing. This is not what defines my being. Okay, as a true self, right, as a soul self, I am on the exact same plane as you guys are. And the only difference maybe between me and you, or people who are training this, who are dedicating themselves, who are serious about this, all right, is that we are, you know, seeing the implications. We're seeing all the different layers of that, and we are fully aware of the seriousness of that, because we can see how that impacts a person's life, a person's perception of life, perception of self, perception of others, how it can hinder a person. And of course, then as a healer, you know, how with just information or, you know, the things that we do here right now, how this can unlock that in a person. Oh, yes, Janet, that's, yeah, okay, cool. It helps you to explain these freak out moments. Yes, but the freak out moments are, this is the first barrier. This is like literally facing the truth of yourself, okay? Not listening when the first signs come in, when the first communicational signals come in from your true self. Yes, and I've pulled up this chart for you here, this picture. Um, uh, for energetically sensitives. So I'm assuming that you guys are, you know, all label yourself as energetically sensitives or empaths. You know, that this isn't anything special, but once somebody actually awakens to their own energetic sensitivity, There are some needs that come in. We can truly sort of group this. We can say energetically sensitives will, to one degree or another, come up with increased needs in these areas. And I've put this together here for you. This is something that if you're not entirely sure yet what it is that you need, because this was such a big key in this session here for you, for this, not specifically 2020, but like looking at this as the rebirth moment, okay, the January 1st 2020 as a new beginning for you, okay, then just go down the list in your daily life, and ask yourself, okay, overall we need more connection. This is what we're practicing here. We're practicing this etherically, but you can also, of course, act this out and act this with others, or with yourself on a daily level. I recommend it to have something like a sacred item or something that reminds you. It could be a place in your house, like an altar or a crystal that you carry with you, or a worry stone, or something like that throughout the day that reminds you that you are a soul with a body, okay, that pulls you out of your 3D-ness, okay, and sort of realigns your mind, and through that, then also your emotions and your body and your etheric, to recognizing that you are a true self and you want to be with this part of you, period, okay. And in our daily imbalances, we forget this, okay. So more connection, more space, inner and outer space, very, very important. Came up for a lot of you guys. Space in terms of home and belonging. So a few of you had this come up. More space in terms of actually working with your inner space a bit more. Some of you had so this is now the different nature of all these blockages. Some of you had issues with things in the past, with letting go of the past, letting go of childhood trauma and so forth. This can be remedied through working with more inner space. There are techniques for this. More silence. Yeah. Guys, give me some hand signs here. Who of you has noticed, or just go the list down with me and raise your hand? Who's consciously noticed that you have this need? Who needs more silence? Who of you has already figured this out, that you need? Raise your hand here, because there's too many people in the webinar. I can't. Okay, so 80% of you guys have already consciously noticed that you need more silence. Less clutter. Yeah, lower your hand again, or just leave it up. Who of you responds very sensitive to clutter around you? Yeah, that's half of us. Who of you has, well, we've talked here half an hour about balance. Notice that you need more balance, that this is a daily balancing act, so to speak, that it's just something that comes in every day. Yes. Yeah, more than half of you. That's cool, because this is all it means. Remember the example with the bike, okay? It's like if you go too slow and you no longer pay attention and you fall asleep on your bike, what happens? You fall over. So you have to keep this going, okay? You have to keep this connection with yourself going to stay in balance, okay? More meaning, the need to understand better. This can be intellectually, but also, wanting things to have more meaning, being completely bored or frustrated with things that are irrelevant. So this conscious need to find some kind of deeper purpose in things, right? This is an actual need, okay? Don't be shy with yourself there. If you are bored or agitated or frustrated with small talks and sort of loveless stuff, that is a need for you, a need to give things more meaning. And you can start with yourself, not just through educating, also through giving things a different context. You know, like I often use this as an example when I talk about baking cookies. For me, baking cookies, and you can ask anybody who knows me, they've watched me, they've seen my energy when I do it. Even in the midst of the greatest chaos, I'll just like, you know what, guys, I'm going to bake some cookies. And this is the meaning I give this, okay? When I make cookies, bake cookies for my family, for myself, is reconnecting, balancing myself. Okay, I'm kneading the dough. Okay, so there's a lot of left and right things, and I'm putting a lot of love in there. You know, I'm connecting with sensuality. I'm connecting with taste, with smell, with looks, and so forth. I connect with beauty. I make them look pretty. You know, all these things. I give them meaning. I don't just bake cookies, guys. You understand? It's an act of energy healing. It's an act of connecting with my true self, and it always works. You know, cooking and so forth can do this too, knitting, and it just depends on the context that you give it. It's not the form, it's the context. All right. More truth. Who of you needs more truth? Who of you longs, thirsts for truth? You know, just even just the, you know, like what I do here, this sort of living true self radio, just hearing things, you know, the way they are. Yes, this is something that we all need and that we all need to practice. So this is the fifth chakra aspect, is to really connect with truth and to express truth. Sixth chakra, your third eye, is very much linked to the ability to sense truth and to see truth. But fifth is this giving it a voice. And voice, obviously, not always in the literal sense, but sometimes it does. And, you know, we often recommend people to hum or sing to loosen this up. You know, eloquence, of course, and languages and all that. But any kind of expression, dancing, all this, these are forms of expression. Yeah, and seeing too much truth is something that can also lead to a block in fifth chakra, because you know, seeing truth and not expressing it is an unmet need, because there is no translation of it into 3D. Okay, and that leads to blockages. Okay, this means that you know, whatever is coming in here as information for you is not being transcoded, is not being put into balance. All right, and this is then when people get stuck in stagnation, when they get stuck in their own laziness, in their own mindsets. Okay, and they see all the truth and they feel all the pain and blah blah blah, and you know, never actually work with it. So we need to work with truth. It's not just about seeing truth, guys. It's about putting this into action, talking about truth, acting truth, manifesting in truth, living a life in truth. Okay. More trust, you know, but not just trust in, you know, in humanity or whatever. No, in yourself, in your inner sensations, in your inner emotions. Higher goals, better communication, higher integrity. Who have you felt this? Need for integrity. You know, this, I don't know if you can connect with this when I say this, but I can barely stand the presence of people who feel non-integrous for me. And like many of you empath women, I've had an issue with a narcissist in my life. This is no problem anymore, because they're so non-integrous for me that there's like zero attraction. It's like, cool. You know, it's like, there's nothing there. Or like I listen to news or politicians, or you know, read a book or watch a YouTuber, and I'm like, there's like zero integrity. I feel it in my body. It hurts me. Okay. So yes, but we gotta enact that, you know, and more self-esteem obviously comes with confidence. Yeah. And better boundaries. Who of you has this problem as an energetically sensitive? You know exactly what is not good for you, and you swear to yourself, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to say this, I'm not, and bang, 5 seconds later you did it, you said it, you, oh sure, of course I can do this. You violated your own boundaries again. Who knows what I'm talking about? Constantly violating your own boundaries. Okay, guys, you have a need here, and the need is to have better boundaries, make less compromises. And if you do compromises, make very conscious compromises. Make a choice here. Say, okay, yeah, it's maybe not optimal, but I'm choosing this because, and here comes the meaning, I am working on something. I am trying to manifest something. I'm working on, sort of trampolining myself up and so forth. And yes, for the time being, maybe for a year or for two, I need to make a little compromise. But that's okay, because you know what? Then you actually agree to it, and you no longer have a duality about this, and you have no confliction in you anymore. You know why you're making this compromise. And if it gets too bad, then you say to yourself, and feeling that something gets too bad, that's something that your true self clearly communicates to you. You guys all know what I'm talking about. Yes, often with work. You feel it when work is a compromise for most of you. When it gets too bad, well, then you got to talk to yourself, to your true self, and say, hey, this is getting out of hand. I can't live this compromise anymore. I need to find a higher vibratory solution. All right, then, stop resisting your reality, work with it. Yes, or you have other people crossing your boundaries majorly all the time. Yes, and exactly, Alex, this is a form of manipulation. It's a form of coercion. If you have a lot of people around you that do this either consciously or subconsciously, and those are the people who project a lot, and this is some of you guys had this issue too. This also leads to blockage into the ability to actually see truth and feel truth when you project too much. So someone who projects, oh, I'm the greatest, or I'm this, or I'm that, all your false identities, okay, disconnect you from your truth, disconnect you from your true self. And then you begin to become infringing, even though you don't want to, because your energy pushes things out all the time, and it's projecting all over the place. And as a consequence, you absorb other people's energies. Yeah, so there's explainer videos for this, really complex mechanisms from an energetic point of view. Yes, we need more protection, and this comes, of course, from within. This comes from our stance, from our trust, from all the above. And we need more like-minded people, okay? Because here, like in this space, for instance, very safe space for that, we learn how to talk about these things, how to give things names, how to feel more confident. And of course, just through learning about things, and that we're not alone with this, whatever the problem is that we experience, it strengthens us, it encourages us. And then last but not least, guys, you need more joy, you need more play. This seriousness is also a blockage, guys, because comes from specialness. Or there's a seriousness that comes in when sort of truth hits you. Okay, but then there's a seriousness, when you just take yourself too seriously. And this is then when we lose the connection to joy and to play and to our sensuality as well, to really enjoying life. Enjoying life has a lot to do with this connection with your true self, guys. So this session was a really, really strong call for action. We've covered the different components here energetically that are involved in this. So don't fall for your performance anxiety. That's your ego. That's your specialness. That's your false identity. If you consciously or unconsciously notice that you're really lazy, actually, that you're not actually connecting with yourself every day, well, then you don't need to be frustrated about your manifestations, because they're like all false self manifestations. Okay, and if you keep catching yourself get pulled into your pain, into your story, and how bad you have it, and nobody understands you, and nobody knows your pain, and so forth, then you also, in your ego, you're also blocked from truth and from the ability to put this into action. So this call for action has to do with balance and choice, and that is serious. But you need to listen to your true self that is communicating to you through the needs and through your feelings and through your emotions and through your sensations and visions and dreams, sometimes what it truly is that needs to be changed. Okay, that's what your true self is there for. It's the communicator, the mediator, between your soul self and your ego self, right? So we have a few minutes left here. Who wants to share? Any of the co-facilitators, would you like to just speak out loud? There's more people that logged on while I was talking. Guys, does anybody want to share? Does anybody want to say a few words? Okay, Cheryl, I see your hands up. Is this because you forgot to lower it, or did you want to speak?
Well, it's because I forgot to lower it, but I'll speak. I'm multitasking here. But anyway, what I really want to say, Jona, and for me in my language, and this is because I operate more out of my masculine than my feminine, and I'm working on that. This is really about me, pardon me, but pulling my head out of my ass because I know all this stuff. And oftentimes of late, I've caught myself taking the easy way out, which is really not the easy way out. What ego is saying, you don't have to do that. That's not the easy way out. And many times in all the readings I've done over the years, if this was easy, everybody would do it. This isn't easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. So when these things come up, especially right now, because this is the 1st of January 2020, and as you've said, this is the opportune moment. This moment is gold. Like this is the treasure moment. And I need to get on the bus. And I need to not tell myself, yeah, I'm on the bus and the wheels on the bus go round and round. They don't. I am the driver of the bus. I am all the passengers on the bus. I am the mechanic on the bus. I am the designer of the bus. This is my bus. So I can sit around and pretend I'm special because I got a problem with that. And I can tell you that I got this. But as you helped me see this week, I'm not that special. I'm not special at all. I am as imperfect as as I could possibly be. And that's one of the things that came to me as Kofak in this session was there's perfection and imperfection. And I need to honor that. I need to honor the fact that I'm perfect and imperfect at the same time. And I need to pull up my socks and stop pissing around and don't take this all for granted, because if it was easy, everybody would do it. It's not easy, but it's simple. Cheryl, let go of all of it, the good, the bad, the ugly. It's all the same. It's all a facade. Just let it go. And that's really what came home in this transmission. At one point in time, because often in these transmissions, I get verbal messages and they come in like someone's talking in my ear. And one of the ones was get under the table. And to me, that means like in a 3D world, if there's instruction to get under a table, it means get ready, like there's an earthquake or there's a landslide or something's happening, like get ready. And that came in today, and I thought, do I really want to get under the table, or do I really want to get off the pot and just do everything that I already know is what needs to be done on a daily, regular basis? Yes. So as you had said earlier, I've got what I call a touchstone in my pocket now. I'm on the bus. I'm driving the bus. If there's a roadblock, I'll take heed, but I'm staying as the driver on the bus. And I just want to put it out there to anybody who gets tricked as easily as I do by thinking that they're on the bus and that they're the driver. As soon as I think I'm special and I got this under control.
You are. I mean, let's clarify this for a sec. You are, but you are not aware which part of you is. Since you've already
That's true.
noticed that this is there's a bunch of different parts of yourself on that bus. So if your inner child or if your ego is driving the bus, that means your true self is asleep. Okay, that means it fell asleep, and in that time, every single time, okay, your ego drives the bus, you are getting off route. Well, I
Right.
mean, not an ego's point of view. Okay, it's going to steer the bus where it wants to go.
Yeah.
No, which would be more convenience or more status or more money or more whatever you've not but you know what I mean in the general sense,
Yeah.
externalized as more safety or more security or more, whatever importance or more specialness, right? So
Yes.
this is the part here with our ego. It's like we need to recognize what these ego parts are, and this is then what allows us to wake up and say, wait a minute, why am I doing this? Okay, am I doing this to feel more special about myself, or am I doing this to feel more perfect, or am I doing this to perform better, or hey, hang on, that this isn't who I am.
I'd
This
like
is
to put
not.
one more in there. You
Mhm.
know, if I'm driving my vehicle and I think I can just put it on cruise control and pretend that I'm not in control
Yeah.
or that need to be front up, then I have an issue. So I need to be alert when I'm driving the bus. And like you said, if I'm not paying attention, that means I'm asleep. I got the cruise control on. I probably got the radio too loud. I am not paying attention. And that's when my specialness comes in because I think I got this. And
Hmm.
that's
Hmm.
so backwards. Anyway, thank you so much for this transmission. It was like, ta-da! And not in a special way. It's like just driving it all home again. I'm not
Yeah,
that
you sound
special.
very invigorated. Yeah, that's
Ah,
good.
it was a good one. Uh, Get
Thank you,
under the table and take cover. What?
Cheryl.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wants to share? Yes, thank you guys for all your thank yous here in the text. Yeah, thanks, Shri, for pointing this out. You were paying attention to the guidance that you received and when you said the invocation. This is something I teach these trance coaches here in the healer training, to pay attention to this when you read or work with an invocation, to really look at what you resonate with, where you get a ping or something, what you hear louder or what comes into the forefront of your attention. For you, it was accepting Gaia in her evolutionary process. Yes, this actually stuck out for me as well. This links into the whole discussion of environment and this fear of these planetary changes. Mhm. There's an acceptance that is needed. And I wanted to also point out here that because this came forward for some of you in this session, when it goes to or when it comes to control, some of the things that Cheryl mentioned played into this. It's very important to become aware of what you're trying to control. So many of you needed, in this stillness, you can find a code. We call these energy codes that come forward as resonances that reminds us of serenity. Serenity. I don't know if you guys all know the serenity prayer, but it reminds us of only focusing on the things that we can control and to let go of the things we cannot control. This is one of the probably the most saving grace I've had in my life. Once I was awakened and a problem occurs, whatever it is in my life, whatever it is, whether it's something with the kids or with money or with my body or whatever. First question I ask myself: can I control this? Is this in my control? And the moment I get the no answer is when I let go. That's when I let go. That's when I focus on my inner true self, heart feeling, and I trust. If it is something in my control, then I go there too. I go into my true self. I go into this space in me, this inner sanctum in me, and ask my soul self, okay, what is a higher vibratory solution for this problem? Right now, I'm just in panic. Right now, I'm freaking out. I cannot see a solution. Please let me feel, let me come up with, or it's not even me anymore. Please help me to see a higher vibratory solution, something that is conducive, something that can help. It is the surrender of the ego mind, like not thinking that I can come up with all the solutions. Of course, I can't prevent my mind from, being sort of this nagging backseat driver and saying, go there, try this, try this, try this. Sure, I have all that too. But it's a discipline to let go of that and to say, hang on, to go into the stillness, to go into my true self and say, what is the best solution here, or the highest solution that I can come up with, or that can be accomplished here in this situation. And so this is where, what Cheryl has become significant. I mean, getting ourselves out of the way. This isn't about me coming up with the best solution. This is about allowing the best solution to come to me. This has to do with this receiving and always keeping this in balance. Yes, Lavana, exactly. Try. There's always another way. There's always another way. I've often written about this in the sense of there always is a third option, because the ego gets caught in this either or, black or white, all or nothing. And when you get caught in these places, guys, where you feel like there's no way out, it's either or, like um, uh, catch 22, no matter where no matter what I do, I'm trapped or whatever. That's a clear sign for you that you're in your ego. That's a clear sign you're not connected with your true self, because there's at least one third option. Okay. And oftentimes we find this in neutrality. We find this through shifting our energy from this ego state or perception where we experience and where we get overwhelmed by the experience of our emotions, of our thoughts, of our body, and go into our feelings instead. Okay, that's what can help us to qualify what we are experiencing more from this witnesser perspective. What does this feel like? What does this feel linked to? Yes, and for that we need to listen to our feelings. And then, of course, in the implementation, in the living as a true self, then, heeding it, listening to it, following it. Yes, and sometimes it's scary. And like Cheryl said, it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. Okay, guys. Let's close this session here. I want to thank you all for showing up. So many people here who came to the session today and who came to the webinar. If you came later, there's going to be a recording. I'm going to send this to you in email form. Please come back. We have these sessions once a month. I wanted to test this today with the webinar afterwards. If this works well, I think this is an experiment that worked really well. So I've decided to do this from now on. There's no written report anymore. So this is my payoff here. I don't have to write so much. And yes, I hope that this is a sort of a moment, a snapshot of a moment for you here, maybe also by listening to the recording again throughout the year, of a new beginning. Okay, choose a new beginning, choose to be awake at all times. And even if you have to remind yourself 50 times a day, there is no shame in that. All right, the only shame, well, there is no shame, that's programmed into us, but is to be asleep and to think that you're awake. Right, that's the only problem that we can still run into from time to time, and that's when we have to get ourselves out of the way, our false self, really, our ego self. All right, guys. Yes, wonderful. Have a fantastic 2020. Come back, and also if you need assistance, check out all the training programs that we have, and energy coaching, and group and individual sessions, self-learning course, all the way to, like, for the serious seeker, we can address all these different levels of embodying your true self and your soul self. Thank you. Bye bye, everyone.